Hello everyone guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to show you guys some of the best loadouts to use in Insurgency Sandstorm. Now we don't have Observer or Command actually unlocked, but it doesn't really matter because they all use pretty much the same weapons. So there's only really a couple of these which actually the weapons differ. So I'm going to show you guys the best rifleman setup, kind of a like realistic play. Now if you want to become the armed police, you can use a G36. But most people will use an M4A1. Now, I'm personally using the two-tone aesthetic just because I quite like it. Obviously, for this, we'll just have a normal. Which, there you go, is normal. So, first is first. Personally, I like an optic of the 1x MRO. It's quite a realistic kind of show 1x red dot. But it is what I believe the LAPD SWAT use. And it's actually what a lot of people do use now. In law enforcement or in the army. So my time is a 1x MRO. If you don't do that and you're going for a bit more of a long range, if you're kind of a team player, you know, staying back, sniper support, I would then go to the 4 to 1x SU 230 bus site. Don't know why I've got to say all that, but yeah, basically the 4x site with the 1x red dot sight on top of it. If you're just going to be long range, then just use the 4x. But for me personally, I like to use it with the scope on top. So personally, I go for the 1x MRO. Then on the barrel, I personally use the recoil grip. Now you can use kind of anything. You can use the recoil grip, you can use the aiming grip, you can really use anything. Personally, I like to use a recoil grip, but as I said, you can pretty much use any of these grips. They are, to be fair, all kind of alright. So I use a recoil grip. Then the side rail, I like to use the laser sight, like every other weapon does, and then I have a flat top just so it doesn't get in the way. That then leaves one left. So personally, I like to go for a flash hider, but let's say you're not going to use a flat top or a barrel. That could mean you use an extended mag, you could go for tracer rounds, anything really. So personally, however, as I said, I like to go for the flash hider and a flat top, and then that makes my weapon mine. But then, as I said, some people like to use a more long-range sight. So let's say we use a 4 to 1x. This would actually be an alright class for me. We have a recoil grip, we have the sight, and then we have the flash hider, a bit more of a long-range engagement. You may want a compensator or a flash hider. All work pretty much the same. I mean, they all work very well. So for me, that's my M4A1 build. I do have it set up here as well, so that's my setup if I'm going into a battle. Then going on from rifleman, we have breacher. Now I personally use two setups. I use the honey badger, the honey badger and the MP5. Let's just put H in for this one. Yeah, personally, honey badger, MP7, you know, MP5. You can use really any of these. Personally, however, I like to use the honey badger. So for the honey badger, then we are don't really have any attachments to this. I think the long grip's a quick, yeah, long grip's a bit for it. But yeah, I don't really use anything on my honey badger. So you have the 1x MRO sight again. We have the black powder aesthetic. No ammo, no barrel changes. And then for the underbarrel, I have the loading grip and then the laser sight. Even if we didn't use an underbarrel, it's literally just this. It's a plain weapon, just a laser and an optic, but it does do the job quite well. And then if I'm using the MP5, we're using the 1x MRO sight again. Then I'm using a flash hider, the aiming grip, and then the laser sight. With this, we're using the 110-6A1 sidearm with the rifle. I normally, obviously here I've got no coins left, but normally I'll use the Glock 17 or the PF940 in this game. Then for a visor, this is when it gets a bit more fun because we have a lot of different weapons we can use. So if you want to go a bit for close range battle, then I have the Vector for this. The 1x MRO sight, the recoil grip, and the laser sight. A very close range kind of battle. You can also use the extended magazine as well if you want for the extra rounds. And then one weapon I do love to use is the MK18. Now this is a bit more of a longer range version of said MK18. But this is the, it's meant to be the close quarter combat, or close quarter battle kind of version. So it's close quarter version. So I use the 2 to 1x holographic sight on top. I then use a, don't know why it isn't set, there you go. I then use the quick draw grip. God, this just ain't staying, there you go. I use the quick draw grip and then the laser sight as well. However, if I want to go for a bit more kind of my style, it's the 1x MRO, and then I'll probably see aiming grip, but I don't have enough of that, so just take away the Glock 17, put on the recoil grip, and then we could maybe use a flash hider and a magazine. So if you kind of want a bit more of a normal kind of a maybe more of like an M4 variant, you can use this. But as I said, personally for me, it's like the 2 to 1 times holographic sight, possibly even the recoil grip, and then something else with it. So in this case, I'm just going to go for the flash hider. And that's pretty much it for my MK18. And then we have the close quarter battle version, which I just said, which is the 1x MRO, the aiming grip, and the laser sight. And then the British Army standard issue rifle, we have the SA-80, or in this game, the 185A2. This is the A2 version, not the A3 or the A1, but I do quite like this weapon. I've fired it in real life. It's a nice weapon to use. Now, we have on this one the 4x1 sights. Now, personally, I'm always in a bit of a mix if I use the SU or the M150 bus sight. Yeah, I have a bit of an R in between the two. I personally quite like the last one though. I then have the recoil grip on this as well. I feel like that kind of gives you the best experience if you use the recoil grip. But once again, if I didn't want to use a pistol, you could go for a suppressor, you could use a flash hider, you can use a laser, or anything on this. But personally, this is my SA-80 version, and I actually quite like this. I'm not going to lie to you. But as I said, the secondary I always love to have, and that's where I have one. Or if I'm not going to use if I'm not going to have a sidearm, then I have flashes and grenades. And that's not the end of that, because you have one last one, and that's a SCAR. I've not actually used a SCAR before, but I've just made a build for it. So I use the 2x1 holographic sight again, the suppressor, and then the recoil grip. It's a very basic build, but as I said, I don't really use it, if I'm honest with you. I would heavily recommend, though, the extender mag on this. And then we have demolitions. Pretty much, we have the same kind of... Well, we have all the weapons pretty much for the rifleman, so it'll be the exact same as the rifleman's build. So then for the marksman rifle, once again, a few options, but the only one I would use is the M110 SAS or SASS weapon. I believe this is what the US Marine Corps use, I'm pretty sure. But for this one, I use the 4x1 sights. Obviously, you can use a bit more for sniper scope if you want to, but I like to use the 4x1 sight. Then we have a flash hider. Could go for the suppressor, but I personally prefer the flash hider. And then the bipod on that, just kind of for the looks, I'm not going to lie to you. And that is pretty much it for this weapon. You could use an extended magazine if you wanted to. If I'm going to take away a pistol, then I could use an extended magazine. Or if I wanted to, a suppressor. All really kind of up to you. But I personally kind of like this build quite a bit. That is pretty much it, to be fair, for the marksman rifle classes. I don't really think there's any other weapons you really want to use. I mean, you can use what's supposed to be a 50 cal. But no, personally, I do quite like to use my M110 SAS weapon. And then for the gunner, these are the LMGs. You have a Glil SAR, we have an M2049, an M60, then an M240B. Now, an M60 is just used a bit more in real life, I believe, if I could be mistaken. So this one, 2x1 side holographic, I think actually probably is the best sight for this. After that, the recoil grip for a bit more recoil control. So this does have more recoil than most weapons. I always use the laser sight and the flash hider. A fully equipped weapon. For me, I actually quite like this one. Yeah, fully kitted out, but I think it works really, really, really well. And then all of my setups, I have the combat knife, a light armor, and light carrier. Depending on the map, I might use gas masks, but most of the time, I prefer not to use a gas mask or not to carry it with me, at least. Obviously, if I have the spare coin, then I do use a gas mask. Explosives, always pretty much use frags or flashes, but always use light armor and the light carrier. You can use heavy carrier or the heavy armor, but I never really have 6 to spare. Maybe just 2 for the light carrier and light armor. Apart from that, guys, that will be the end of today's video. It has been Arthur Lee. Have a good day, guys. Peace out. Bye-bye.